Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unpouching to share with you guys. This is yet another knife and company that I have never heard of before. I love stuff like this because we get a lot of familiar, you guys see a lot of the same familiar companies on my channel, but every now and then I like to branch out and showcase different things when I get the opportunity. And thanks to Derek of Sever 7, I've had many opportunities here just within the last week or two. So thank you so much to Sever 7. Please go and subscribe, show him some love. This is awesome because this is all new to me, and I have to imagine new to the vast majority of my subscribers. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. So this is interesting. This is a Chinese company called Spearhead EDC, and the model is the Crimson Edge. And yes, I'll have links for this down in the description. There's two different sizes. I looked it up. There's a compact one, and then there's this. This is the larger one, but it's still on the medium size part of the spectrum there. They list this as a Chinese MidTech, and then he has noted here, hand assembled and hand sharpened. So lots of people are going to have different definitions of MidTech, and that's fine. A lot of people think that when a knife is made in China, it can't be a MidTech, and that's wrong. MidTech is, if you look back, I would urge that you look up the history of that word, but it's not considered a full custom, and most of the time nowadays, what we refer to as full customs are actually mid-tech by true definition, right? And that's fine. You can label it however you want. I do it too. When I say full custom, sometimes those knives could still be labeled as mid-tech. But the fact that there are hand elements involved with not all of this knife, but at least part of it, slows down the process massively, and it makes the knives legitimately different feeling, usually substantially different in feeling because of those hand elements. There are massive differences in many cases. The Gen X Primark, I think, is the strongest example of a Chinese mid-tech feeling dramatically different than even the most precision full production high-end Chinese knives. So I'll judge that for myself here when we open this up. But that is the case. These are not as expensive as one would expect a knife coming with the word mid-tech. I forgot it for a second. Not as expensive as I expected it to be, but still very expensive for sure. There's some sort of rod in here. Okay. Wonder what, that must be the pivot tool, maybe? All right. So this, to my knowledge, is the 7-inch model. There are two different options for the front inlay. This is the mother of pearl option, but they also have zircotai. So interesting, the pivot here. That's exactly what that is. So that will fit right there. I feel like I'm opening some sort of alien key door. That'll fit right there, and then you use this, I guess, to turn it. This is what I would call proprietary hardware. Some people hate that and some people love it. It looks like Derek has maybe gone at that a time or two, which I don't blame him at all. I would be curious. So backspacer construction, this is contoured. I'll note right away that it is a nested liner lock, which is cool. I like that. I think that's definitely the better way to go versus an exposed frame lock. So let's go ahead and deploy this blade. Okay, so this is hand sharpened, but not hand ground. That's two different things. Sometimes mid-techs will have hand ground blades and machined frames. To my knowledge, this is a machine ground blade, hand sharpened, and then the knife is hand tuned and hand assembled. So this would be very similar to the way, for example, that Rick Hinderer makes his knives. I don't believe that. Well, it's very possible that all Rick Hinderer knives are still hand sharpened. That is not a fact that I'm absolutely certain of. But I know that Hinderer knives are machine made, but hand tuned and hand assembled. So this would be a Chinese knife where they're doing that the same way. And that is not the case with the vast majority of Chinese made knives, even the higher end stuff, right? Not even like Riat's knives, to my knowledge, are not hand tuned and hand assembled. I could be wrong about that, right? But it's worth talking about because the term MidTech is definitely marketable now that more people know what it means or automatically associate it with a higher tier of item. So I would say be wary of the fact that it is now marketable and that it sometimes can be used to imply some sort of fancier process, when in reality, it's only the case sometimes, right? I think there are plenty of companies out there who have mid-tech processes that don't actually label their knives as mid-tech, so it muddies the water a little bit. Anyways, something to think about. The action on deployment feels really good. I'm going to go ahead and take a look in here. I'm looking for a lock bar insert. Let's go ahead and use the magnet on this real quick here and see what we're looking at for that material. So that is a steel lock bar. So we're not going to have an insert there because that'd be completely unnecessary. Disengagement, there is absolutely no... Ooh, beautiful pivot action. Beautiful pivot action. Very, very minimal feeling of the bearings inside. Only right here am I even aware of anything moving at all. It's very, very smooth. Absolutely. Spectacular. Definitely smoother action, at least on the pivot, versus a lot of Chinese production knives. And I want to beat this point in. If you're newer, you might think, oh, I've got $30 knives that are drop shut. Drop shut and pivot smoothness are not mutually exclusive. Drop shut action can occur on knives where the bearings, you can still absolutely feel them rotating, right? But while it doesn't necessarily mean that the knife is superior, it is an element that is kind of it gives you the satisfaction of buying something where more attention was paid, right? I mean, a knife can have bearings that you can feel and even be lumpy and bumpy, and it can still operate exactly as intended. But sometimes, when you're buying something that's a little bit more hands-on and it's going to be more expensive, it's nice when you receive the product and the pivot action is indicative of those processes, right? Again, it's not necessarily adding anything utilitarian, but it makes the buyer who has climbed the ladder to this point and is no longer absolutely amazed by the wizardry of general utility, right? We're beyond that. These people who are intentionally buying these products for these elements, that is a nice thing to get with your expensive product. So it does feel really good. Definitely a higher tier of pivot action than I typically expect from even this territory. We have a compound tanto here. Some people love it, some people don't. Is it a subtle recurve? No, it isn't. It's just some sort of optical illusion. Maybe because we've got a little bit, just a hint of a smile back there, which would come with the hand sharpening element. Honestly, for being hand sharpened, I'd say they did a pretty darn good job. Pretty spectacular there. No lock stick, really good detent. Really nice. I like the little, the little teeth there in the pocket clip. That's pretty cool. Very, very shallow clip. Incredibly shallow clip. I'm going to try that real quick on these Under Armour pants. Ooh. The clip wants you to peel up with your fingernail. So if this company sees this video, my first suggestion would be kick this up just a bit there, guys, and give us a ramp right here so that this clip isn't fighting so hard going in and out of the pocket. However, because the clip is so shallow, ergonomically, it's like the clip's not even there. So a little bit of a trade-off there. Jimping is nice. Kind of wanted to extend out here, but it's really nice. Really, just overall, really spectacular manipulation and action. Not necessarily anything different than we have seen before, but it's neat. I like experiencing different companies and their work, right? It's always fun to see where these companies go from their first knife to their second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. But I don't know if this is their first product. It's the first one I have experienced. So my impressions of the company based on this knife is these guys are capable of doing some pretty amazing work. The blade steel, does your note say? Where did the note go? I don't know, but the link will have the blade steel. I think I read M390. I think so, but perhaps the blade steel is something else. In any case, this is not a review. It's simply an unboxing and first impressions. I will review this knife and give you guys more details when I do that, but that's going to be it for today. So links for this knife down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.